U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered 2 nuclear submarines to be positioned in the appropriate regions following highly provocative statements made by former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. The move comes as tensions between Russia and Ukraine continue to escalate, with over 20,000 Russian soldiers reportedly killed this month alone. Trump also expressed frustration with Putin's handling of the conflict, stating that it is Biden's war, not Trump's. Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend and convicted accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, has been transferred from a federal prison facility in Florida to the Bureau of Prisons at the federal prison camp Bryan in Bryan, Texas. The transfer comes 1 week after Maxwell met with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche to answer questions regarding her involvement in Epstein's sex crimes. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year sentence for her role in procuring underage girls for Epstein. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting (CPB) announced it will begin winding down its operations and cutting a majority of its jobs by the end of September. The decision comes after Congress voted to cut $1.1 billion in federal funding for CPB. Patricia Harrison, CPB President and CEO, stated that despite efforts from millions of Americans to preserve funding, the organization must close its operations. A small transition team will remain through January 2026 to ensure a responsible closeout. The American-Japanese-Russian crew of 4 successfully launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center on August 1, 2025. They will replace colleagues who launched in March as fill-ins for NASA's 2 stuck astronauts. 4 flight attendants who were on board Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 in January 2024 are suing Boeing after the door plug blew out. The incident occurred during a routine flight from Seattle to San Francisco, and the attendants claim that Boeing's design flaw led to the malfunction. The lawsuit seeks damages for physical and emotional harm caused by the incident. The Chrisley family is set to return to reality TV with a new show, Back to Reality, which will premiere on September 1st and 2nd. The series follows the family as they navigate their lives after Todd and Julie Chrisley's pardon from prison for bank fraud and tax evasion charges. In the trailer, the children accuse each other of betrayal related to the case, with Savannah saying, "We're no longer family, lose our last name." Rayson added, "I mean, your blood will screw you over, then a stranger definitely will." The show exposes the raw truth of the Chrisleys' lives, past and present, and introduces the real Chrisleys as they navigate this new chapter. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) lodged a detainer on Jose Maldonado Zavala, a 60-year-old from Honduras, who was previously deported in 2011 after allegedly kidnapping and sexually assaulting his neighbor in Pasadena, Texas. The victim managed to escape after fighting off the suspect. ICE made 422 arrests recently in a week-long operation in Houston. Maldonado Zavala's bond has been set at $250,000. Researchers have found that GLP-1 medications, commonly used to treat diabetes and weight loss, may also provide relief from painful arthritis symptoms. Studies suggest a link between being overweight or obese and the risk of developing rheumatoid arthritis. A New York City doctor reported patients experiencing tremendous relief after taking these medications, with some able to stop their arthritis medication altogether. The benefits of GLP-1s extend beyond weight loss and diabetes control, including reduced inflammation, migraines, Alzheimer's disease, and certain cancers. However, experts caution that accessing these drugs without proper medical supervision is not advisable. Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams, 23, led the team to a 4-2 start before losing their next 10 games last season. Despite the struggles, Williams doesn't feel any pressure going into his critical second season. He wants to become the first Bears quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards in a season and complete 70% of his passes this year. However, he believes pressure is a privilege and focuses on taking care of himself and playing well. Williams started all 17 games last season, completing 62.5% of his passes for 3,541 yards, with 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Meta has introduced new features aimed at protecting teens on its platforms, including improved direct messaging protections, safety tips, block options, and the ability to report suspicious activity. The company has also removed over 600,000 accounts for predatory behavior across Instagram and Facebook, with about 135,000 of them sexualizing children. Meta's initiative uses AI-powered tools to detect when users may be misrepresenting their age, and automatically shifts them into a teen account to apply safety restrictions. Troy Taylor, the former head coach of Stanford's football team, has filed a lawsuit against ESPN for defamation. The lawsuit claims that an ESPN story about Taylor's alleged behavior led to his firing from Stanford in March. According to the complaint, the story contained false statements that were known to be false by the reporter at the time they were made. Taylor had previously denied allegations of bullying and belittling staff, stating that he was portrayed unfairly and let go without cause. The lawsuit seeks punitive damages for what it calls willful, oppressive, fraudulent, and/or malicious conduct by ESPN. Stanford hired Frank Reich as interim coach after Taylor's departure. Former President Joe Biden appeared to slur and stumble through multiple parts of his speech at the National Bar Association's 100th Annual Gala in Chicago on July 31, 2025. The event was attended by notable figures including Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and Representative Jasmine Crockett. Biden touted appointing demographically diverse judges during his administration, including Justice Jackson as the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. This incident comes amid ongoing investigations into Biden's mental fitness while in office, with multiple books detailing his final days in office and challenges within the Democratic Party. Fox News Digital reached out to Biden's spokesperson for comment, but has not yet received a reply. Newly declassified documents reveal that the Clinton campaign crafted a lie about Donald Trump colluding with Russia to influence the 2016 election. Emails show that Democrats intentionally spread misinformation through the FBI and media, using attic-based technical structures to disseminate false information. The investigation, led by John Durham, concluded that the Clinton campaign knew their claims were unfounded, but used them to create a smokescreen for Hillary Clinton's own missing email scandal. The hoax damaged innocent lives, with one victim stating it is precious little comfort knowing we were right and seeking accountability. A new report from the Hudson Institute warns that China is rapidly modernizing its nuclear arsenal, with over 1,000 warheads and a fully developed triad. The goal is not to win a nuclear war, but to manipulate trust in America's nuclear umbrella, particularly among U.S. allies in East and Southeast Asia. By sowing doubt about Washington's commitment, Beijing hopes to pressure countries like Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea into strategic passivity, giving China more room to act without triggering a broader allied response. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh spoke at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit Judicial Conference on Thursday, citing 3 presidents, Obama, Biden, and Trump, as examples of how executive branches have increasingly issued executive orders and regulations to achieve policy objectives. He noted that these decisions often go unexplained, but the court's collegiality is very strong, with justices considering each other as patriots. The southern border has largely gone quiet with a record low of 4,399 apprehensions in July, according to U.S. Border Patrol Chief Michael Banks. This is the new all-time record low, beating the prior record low of 6,070 in June. The high number of crossings during the Biden-era crisis resulted in an intense strain on resources in small border communities for years. The nosedive in numbers is seen as a major victory by Republicans and the Trump administration, who have been touting the Trump effect as southern border numbers stay low. Actor Neal McDonough revealed that he was blackballed in Hollywood after refusing to kiss anyone but his wife on screen. He shared this information on the Nothing Left Unsaid podcast, stating that he had a clause in his contracts preventing him from doing so. McDonough, 59, explained how his personal boundaries didn't sit well with people in Hollywood, leading to him losing everything, including his identity as an actor. However, after giving up drinking and realigning his sense of purpose, he was able to break through the struggles and eventually landed a role in The Last Rodeo, where he got to kiss his on-screen wife, played by his real-life wife, Ruve. The Democratic Party is facing challenges in moving past its 2024 losses, as former President Joe Biden and former Vice President Kamala Harris continue to be visible in the public eye. According to a recent Washington Post report, Democrats are eager to turn the page on their 2024 losses, but are hindered by the return of these central figures from the last election. The report highlights how Biden called out the Trump administration for doing its best to dismantle the Constitution at the National Bar Association's 100th annual Gala in Chicago, while Harris is promoting a new book about her failed 2024 presidential campaign. Additionally, Hunter Biden's appearance on the podcast scene has been met with dismay from Democrats who believe his legal troubles hurt them in 2024. Many in the party are wary of elevating the people who led them to defeat in 2024, and exasperated to see the drama of that election repeatedly relitigated when they want to keep the focus on pushing back against Trump's second-term agenda and identifying new leaders. The Atlanta Braves and Cincinnati Reds combined for a record-breaking 16 runs in the 8th inning of their game on Thursday night at Great American Ballpark. The Braves scored 8 runs without hitting a home run, while the Reds relied on 2 3-run home runs to cut into an 11-3 deficit. The game went into extra innings, with the Braves eventually winning 12-11. This was the third time both teams had scored 8+ runs in the same inning. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff visited Gaza Humanitarian Foundation (GHF) sites amid controversy over the distribution of aid in the Strip. They observed humanitarian food programs by GHF, which has served over 100 million meals in 2 months. Huckabee wrote on X that Hamas hates GHF because it gets food to people without being looted by Hamas. The ambassador also dismissed claims that Israel lacked evidence of Hamas stealing aid as ludicrous. He said he had seen evidence of Hamas looting aid trucks and selling food on the black market for outrageous prices. The visit comes as the Trump administration appears to shift its messaging on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with President Donald Trump pledging to set up new food centers in Gaza. The U.S. State Department has issued a report to Congress calling for the dismantling of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, due to its ties with Hamas. The agency, which provides aid to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, has been accused of supporting terrorism and anti-Semitism. According to the report, UNRWA is irredeemably compromised and cannot be reformed. The U.S. government had previously frozen funding for the agency in 2024. And this latest move adds further pressure on the UN and key donor nations to reassess their support for UNRWA. A manhunt is underway for 28-year-old Austin Robert Drummond, who allegedly killed 4 members of his girlfriend's family in Tennessee. The victims were found on Tuesday in Tiptonville, Tennessee, located roughly 125 miles from Memphis. Authorities believe the killings were a targeted attack and are searching for Drummond, who is considered armed and dangerous. He was convicted of carrying out an armed robbery when he was 17 years old and released from prison despite having pending attempted murder charges. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI, is following several leads as they continue to search for the alleged killer. President Donald Trump has issued a full-throated endorsement of Florida State Senator Joe Gruters for the role of Republican National Committee Chair. Gruters is currently listed as the RNC's treasurer. The president also endorsed RNC National Committee woman from New York, Jennifer Saul-Rich, to take on the treasurer post. Fox News Opinion has published a series of articles discussing various topics, including President Trump's massive tariff haul in his first 6 months back, the 250th anniversary of America, and the Durham Report declassified annex. The articles also touch on issues such as the UN's Gaza failure, Hamas's stranglehold on aid, and the Democrats' new marketing campaign accused of promoting a certain gene pool. Additionally, Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley unpacks the manly things in Democrats' new marketing and the latest ad accused of promoting a certain gene pool. The articles also highlight the 250th anniversary of America's founding, which asks Americans to reflect on their values and unity. Overall, the articles showcase a range of opinions and perspectives on current events. Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre expressed his shock at the news that former teammate Deion Sanders has been diagnosed with bladder cancer. Sanders, who is currently coaching the Colorado Buffaloes, announced earlier this week that he had been battling the illness. Despite the diagnosis, Sanders' medical team says he is cured from the cancer. Favre praised Sanders for his determination and work ethic, saying, "He's a grinder. When I was with Atlanta my first year, Deion had already solidified his place in NFL lore already. But one thing about Deion, he was never a tackler, and he would admit that. But he worked his butt off. He played every play in practice as if it were the Super Bowl winning play." Favre also shared his own health struggles, having been recently diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's plan to defund Planned Parenthood, a move that could have significant implications for the nation's largest abortion provider. The decision was made in response to a lawsuit brought by Planned Parenthood and several blue states, which argued that the provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act violates the Constitution. The bill, passed by Congress and signed by the President in July, strips Medicaid funding from certain abortion providers for 1 year. Derek Muller, a professor at Notre Dame Law School, said that taking on two branches of government sets this litigation apart from many other lawsuits targeting the Trump administration. Planned Parenthood's attorneys alleged that the provision would deprive the nonprofit of millions of dollars in Medicaid reimbursements, causing it to lose half of its patients and forcing it to shutter up to 1/3 of its facilities. The judge's decision has been appealed by the Department of Justice.